Review questions 1. The real estate law is found in A. The Licensing Code, B. The Business and Professions Code, C. The Health and Safety Code, D. The Corporations Code, 2. The Real Estate Commissioner reports to A. The California Bureau of Real Estate, B. The Governor, C. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, D. The Legislature. 3. A salesperson owns 25% of the outstanding shares of Rollo Realty, Incorporated, and the broker owns the remaining shares. This division of ownership is A. Acceptable, B. Mandated, C. Discouraged, D. Prohibited. 4. A salesperson is part owner of Rollo Realty, Incorporated. In the broker's absence, the salesperson frequently reviews the work of sales associates. This is A. Acceptable, B. Mandated, C. Discouraged, D. Prohibited. 5. A real estate business that is a partnership can have more than one office location, provided A. A broker partner obtains an additional license for each location. B. All partners are real estate licensees. C. There is a designated broker officer. D. There is at least one partner at each location. 6. The sale or transfer of goods ordinarily held for sale in the course of business is governed in California by A. The Business Opportunity Code. B. The Commercial Transfer Law. C. The Uniform Commercial Code. D. The Real Estate Law. 7. An officer of Ajax Corporation, who is not a real estate licensee, successfully negotiated the purchase of the Smith Widget plant on behalf of Ajax. The officer received a commission on the sale in addition to his normal salary. The officer of Ajax Corporation A. did not need a real estate license for the deal. B. should have had a real estate license. C. is exempt from licensing requirements. D. none of these 8. If a real estate license is not renewed before it expires, the licensee A. is allowed to complete transactions in progress. B. is allowed to finish transactions that are substantially complete. C. must cease all real estate activities. D. may act under authority of another agent's license for a period not to exceed 60 days. 9. A real estate licensee can offer a mobile home for sale that is A. in a manufacturing plant, ready for delivery. B. transportable under an exemption from the vehicle code. C. pre-sold. D. in a location where it can legally remain for 1 year. 10. A couple desperately wants to move to Pine Bend, and they like the seller's house, which is listed with a broker. The couple tells the broker they will make it worth his while if he can persuade the sellers to accept their offer, and they send an expensive food basket to the broker as a sign of their good faith. The broker neglects to mention this to the sellers. This practice is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. California _E_principles_10E_book.indb 33 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 19 seconds p.m. 34 California Real Estate Principles 10th edition 11. A broker routinely places earnest money deposits in his personal account for overnight safekeeping. This practice is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. 12. A broker has an exclusive listing agreement with a property owner. The listing will terminate when the parties agree. This practice is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. 13. When a broker exercised his option to buy Whitaker, he presented to the owner of Whitaker a written statement of his expected profit in the transaction. The seller agreed in writing to proceed with the sale. This conduct is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. 14. The broker officer of Xyz Realty, Incorporated, does not like the overly aggressive sales tactics of Xyz's salespeople but has not reprimanded them because business is so good. The broker's conduct is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. 15. A broker wants to help out his neighbor's son, who recently acquired a BA in history from Back East University. The broker hires the graduate to show property to prospective buyers. Because the new employee has no real estate license, the broker handles all of the negotiating. This practice is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. 16. A salesperson is selling the Greenacre estate. An offer has been accepted, and the closing will take place in 2 weeks. While their owners are out of town, the buyer asks if the closing can be put off for 1 day. The salesperson agrees on behalf of the owners, for she is sure they will not object. The salesperson's conduct is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. 17. A house is for sale following a murder in the house 6 months earlier. A salesperson, showing an out-of-town prospect through the house, decides to keep information about the murder to himself. The salesperson's conduct is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. 18. A broker is so busy that he never has the time to return the phone calls of his principals. He prefers to spend his time in the field making sales and acquiring new listings. This practice is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. California _principles_10e_book.indb34 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 19 seconds p.m. Unit 1 The Business of Real Estate 35. 19. After attending a get-rich-quick real estate seminar, an attendee wants to buy a house cheap. She tells a broker that she will offer $50,000, with seller financing and no down payment, on the Monroe Street house, which has an asking price of $125,000. The broker presents the offer with one of his own for $85,000, telling the owners that unexpected market conditions make their asking price unrealistic. His conduct is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. 20. A new broker opens a brokerage office and immediately places an ad in the local newspaper, "List your house with me and I will pay you $500 at closing." This practice is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited. California Real Estate Principles is an introduction to the many interesting aspects of the real estate business. This book has been written primarily for the prospective real estate broker or salesperson, but it will also be of interest to the consumer or investor. Throughout this book you will find website addresses. We encourage you to explore the internet resources mentioned in this book to expand on what you read here. To make it easy to find site references, they are highlighted in the margins of the text. There is also a complete list of all site references in Appendix B at the back of the book. As with any resource, you are cautioned to use good judgment when considering the validity of the information you find on the internet. Some of the best sources are the .gov, government, or .edu, education, sites. This new edition of California Real Estate Principles has been revised to reflect current market conditions as well as the numerous legislative and regulatory changes that resulted from the mortgage foreclosure crisis and the market recovery that has already begun to take place. Additional information is available at www.dearborn.com. Click on the link that takes you to the Instructor Resources page. How to use this book. Each unit of this book begins with a list of key terms that are highlighted in bold type when they first appear in the discussion that follows. Knowing the definitions of the key terms is especially important for students who plan to take a real estate licensing examination. Learning objectives are provided next to alert you to the important concepts that will be covered. Each unit then is divided into sections. Usually, each section has one or more examples of how the material covered may be applied to real-life situations. Throughout each unit are exercises that will require you to use what you have learned to solve problems involving practical applications of the topics covered. After you complete an exercise, you can check your answers by turning to the answer key at the back of the book. The text of each unit concludes with a summary of the material covered, with most key terms highlighted once again in bold type. If you are familiar with the key terms listed at the beginning of a unit, You should have no problem successfully completing the review questions at the end of the unit. Monitoring your progress. You should not be discouraged if at first you do poorly on the unit review questions. Despite your best efforts, part of learning how to succeed at a review is learning how to take a test. This skill may require some practice, particularly if you have been out of school for some time. If you are using this book to prepare for a licensing exam, you should restudy any material you are unsure of and answer the unit review questions until you can answer most of the questions correctly. Your instructor can provide you with more review questions. Don't forget that the answer key at the back of the book provides an answer for every exercise and unit review question. Check your work as often as necessary to make sure you understand what you have read. By doing so, you will be more likely to retain what you have learned as well. When you have completed this unit, you will be able to describe the role of the real estate commissioner, identify the ways in which a real estate brokerage may be owned, list the allowed activities of a real estate broker and salesperson, describe what may be included in a business opportunity transaction, list the requirements for a prepaid rental listing service, list the requirements to become a real estate broker or real estate salesperson, describe how the real estate law is enforced by the real estate commissioner, identify the types of prohibited conduct that can result in disciplinary action, and explain the purpose and funding of the Real Estate Education and Research Fund. California _E_Principles_10E_book.int 1 May 2017 2:25 and 7 seconds p.m. 2 California Real Estate Principles 10th edition. Key terms: associate licensee, blind advertising, broker, officer, bulk transfer of goods, business and professions code, business opportunity, California Bureau of Real Estate, CalBRE, caveat emptor, certificate of status codes, fictitious business name statement, franchise, manufactured home, mobile home dealer, mortgage loan brokerage, mortgage loan originator, MLO, prepaid rental listing service, PRLS, real estate broker, real estate brokerage, real estate education and research fund, real estate law, real estate salesperson, recovery account, regulations of the Real Estate Commissioner, restricted license, sales associate, uniform commercial code. The real estate law. Only a century ago, buyers had few protections from unscrupulous sellers and real estate agents. Instead, the common law doctrine of caveat emptor, a Latin phrase meaning let the buyer beware, prevailed. In 1917, California became the first state to legislate licensing requirements for real estate brokers and salespersons. Although that initial legislation was declared unconstitutional, it was quickly amended, and the California Supreme Court upheld the Real Estate Act of 1919. Now, all 50 states and the District of Columbia license real estate agents. This means that to conduct business as a real estate agent in any state, you must be licensed by that state. In California, there are over 400,000 real estate licensees, more than in any other state. The state's licensing ability is an exercise of its police power to enact laws within constitutional limits to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare. Major provisions of the law. California legislation has been compiled into a series of books called codes. What is commonly referred to as the real estate law is Division 4 of the Business and Professions Code. The real estate law has two parts. 1. Part 1 covers licensing. 2. Part 2 covers transactions and includes the subdivided lands law. The complete text of all 29 volumes of the California codes, as well as information on bills pending before the California legislature, can be found at http://leginfolegislature.car.gov. Real estate licensees are also subject to the regulations of the Real Estate Commissioner, which serve to clarify and interpret the real estate law. They have their force and effect of law. Real estate brokerage. To represent someone else in a real estate transaction in California, you must be licensed by CalBRE as a real estate broker or real estate salesperson, with some exceptions. A real estate salesperson, often referred to as a sales associate or associate licensee, can act only under the control and supervision of a responsible broker, that is, The real estate broker by whom the salesperson is employed. A real estate brokerage is a business in which real estate licensee-related activities are performed under the supervision of a real estate broker. A real estate brokerage may consist of only one broker of record and no employees. However, a brokerage may be large enough to have specialized departments with many salespeople, a support staff that includes administrative and clerical workers, and a number of branch offices. No matter how large a real estate office is or how its ownership is structured, there must always be at least one broker under whose license the real estate activities of the firm are carried out. Sole proprietorship. A real estate brokerage that is a sole proprietorship may be owned by a licensed real estate broker, a salesperson, or a non-licensee. Real estate activities can only be carried out by or under the authority of a licensed real estate broker. However, no separate formalities are required to start a business as a sole proprietor. For business liability and tax purposes, however, most brokerages choose to incorporate. Corporation. A brokerage may be set up as a corporation, provided that at least one officer of the corporation is a licensed broker and is designated the responsible broker officer. The corporation must submit the following to CalBRE: A. The corporation license application and fee. A certificate of status issued by the Secretary of State within 30 days before submission of the application, or the articles of incorporation filed with the Secretary of State. If a California stock corporation originally filed the articles within 6 months of the application, a statement of officers is filed with the Secretary of State. Partnership. A brokerage can be a partnership if at least one of the partners is a licensed real estate broker. Every partner who performs activities that require a real estate license must be licensed as a real estate broker, but there can be only one broker partner of record. At least one broker partner must obtain an additional license for each branch office location. The partnership itself needs no separate license. Use of a fictitious business name. A brokerage, whether a sole proprietorship, corporation, or partnership, can do business under a fictitious name as long as the real estate license is in that name. First, a fictitious business name statement must be filed with the county clerk in the county of the broker's principal business address. The statement is effective for 5 years from December 31st of the year filed and is commonly referred to as a DBA, doing business as. Then, an original or legible copy of the DBA, showing the filed and certified stamps from the county clerk's office, must be sent to the real estate commissioner. The business cards of a real estate licensee should use exactly the same name that appears on the license. Note: the filing requirements for fictitious business names also apply to internet domains used to identify a real estate brokerage or licensee. Often, 2 or more real estate licensees work together to provide licensed real estate services as part of a team, group, or association. A team name is not considered a fictitious business name and does not require the filing of a fictitious business name statement, as long as the team name includes the surname of at least one of its licensee members and the team name does not include a term or terms, such as real estate broker, real estate brokerage, broker, or brokerage, which would imply or suggest the existence of a real estate entity independent of a responsible broker. Advertising and solicitation materials must include the name and license number of at least one of the licensed members of the team, and the responsible broker's identity must be displayed as prominently as the team name. License inspection. The broker's license must be available for inspection by the commissioner, or the commissioner's representative, at the broker's principal place of business. If a broker maintains more than one place of business, each branch office must be separately licensed and the license must be available for inspection there. The license of any salespersons working for the broker must also be available for inspection at the broker's main office. The broker-salesperson relationship. For purposes of the real estate law, a salesperson is always considered the employee of the broker. This means that the broker is held accountable for the salesperson's conduct in performing business activities. For compensation, tax, and other purposes, a salesperson can be treated as either an employee or an independent contractor, as discussed in Unit 6, Real Property Transactions. The real estate law permits a real estate licensee, broker or salesperson, to represent someone else in any of the following transactions involving real property or a business opportunity: A. Selling or offering to sell, including soliciting prospective sellers. A. Purchasing or offering to purchase, including soliciting prospective purchasers. A. Exchanging. A. Soliciting or obtaining property listings for sale or exchange. A. Leasing, renting, or offering to lease or rent. A. Selling, purchasing, or exchanging leases. A. Filing an application for purchase or lease involving land owned by the state or federal governments. The real estate law does not require licensing for the resident manager of an apartment building or complex, the manager, or employees of the manager, of a hotel, motel, or auto or trailer park, an employee of a property management company who merely opens vacant units to prospective tenants, and a real estate assistant who does not perform acts that require a real estate license. Manufactured mobile homes. The real estate law permits a real estate agent to handle transactions involving a mobile home, termed a manufactured home in federal regulations discussed in Unit 14. The home must be registered in compliance with the Health and Safety Code. If it is, the agent can perform the following activities: A. Sell. A. Purchase. A. Exchange. If the real estate agent displays or offers for sale 2 or more registered mobile homes at the agent's place of business, the agent must also be licensed as a mobile home dealer. The requirements for that license, which is obtained from the Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD, are in the Health and Safety Code. Information also can be found at the HCD website, www.hcd.car.gov. Mortgage loan transactions in California. A real estate brokerage can also act as a mortgage loan brokerage. A real estate agent can represent someone else in any of the following acts involving loans secured by real property or a business opportunity: A. Soliciting borrowers or lenders for loans. A. Negotiating loans. A. Servicing loans, collecting payments or performing other services for borrowers or lenders. Unit 1. The business of real estate. 13. In addition, a real estate agent can act as a principal party to the transaction, in a transaction involving a sales contract or promissory note secured by real estate in the following cases: A. Purchase, sale, or exchange of such an obligation with a member of the public, consumer. A. Servicing of such an obligation by agreement with a member of the public. As of January 1, 2011, a licensee who acts as a residential mortgage loan originator, MLO, must register annually on the Nationwide Mortgage Licensing System Registry, NMLS, found at www.nmls.org, and meet other requirements. The federal and state registration requirements for mortgage loan brokers, lenders, branches, and originators are detailed in Unit 8. Financing real estate. All CalBRE licensees who conduct MLO activities for residential property of 1 to 4 units must obtain an MLO license endorsement that is attached to the real estate license and renewed annually. Mineral, oil, and gas transactions. A real estate brokerage is permitted to handle the following activities involving mineral, oil, and gas property for others: A. Sell or offer for sale. A. Purchase or offer for purchase. A. Solicit prospective sellers or purchasers. A. Solicit or obtain listings. A. Lease or offer to lease. A. Collect rent or royalties from such property or its improvements. A. Exchange. A. Assist or offer to assist in filing an application for the purchase or lease of such property owned by the state or federal government. An exception is made for an officer or employee of the state or federal government. A real estate agent can also act as the principal in a transaction involving one of the following: A. Buying or leasing or taking an option on mineral, oil, or gas property for the purpose of sale, exchange, lease, sublease, or assignment of a lease of all or part of the property. A. Offering mining claims for sale or assignment. There is no longer a separate mineral, oil, and gas (MOG) broker license. Anyone, individual or corporation, who still has an MOG license is entitled to continue to perform the listed activities, but no new MOG licenses are being issued. Existing MOG licenses must be renewed and renewal fees paid, but there is no continuing education requirement for MOG licensees. Exemptions from real estate licensing requirements. A real estate license is not needed by the following people: A person who deals only with her own property. A corporation that performs any of the specified activities through one of its regular officers, who receives no special compensation for doing so. A licensed securities broker or dealer involved in the sale, lease, or exchange of a business opportunity in that capacity. Anyone holding a duly executed power of attorney from the owner of property. An attorney at law rendering services in the performance of his duties as attorney, receiver, trustee in bankruptcy, or person acting under order of any court. A trustee selling under a deed of trust. Employees of lending institutions, pension trusts, credit unions, or insurance companies, in connection with loans secured by liens on real property, or a business opportunity. Escrow agents collecting funds in connection with loans secured by liens on real property, when the funds are deposited in the escrow agent's trust account. Other examples include cemetery authorities and persons making 10 or fewer collections, in amounts of $40,000 or less in a calendar year, on notes secured by liens on real property. To provide more time for client and customer contact, many real estate licensees are hiring one or more assistants to help with administrative and other tasks that, filed by the Department of Child Support Services from information provided by the local child support agencies in California. A CalBRE will issue a 150-day license to a listed license applicant. If the applicant fulfills all other requirements, a regular license will not be issued unless a release is obtained from the appropriate district attorney's office within the 150 days. A currently licensed individual who is placed on the list will be notified by CalBRE that, if the obligation is not cleared within 150 days, the license will be suspended. Real estate broker's license. An applicant for a real estate broker's license must be at least 18 years old at the time the license is issued. The applicant must pass a qualifying examination and meet the following requirements for experience and education. The applicant must have been actively engaged as a real estate salesperson for at least 2 of the 5 years preceding the application, or provide satisfactory proof to the commissioner of other experience equivalent to 2 years of full-time experience as a real estate salesperson. An applicant with a 4-year degree from an accredited college with a major or minor emphasis in real estate may be exempt from the experience requirement. Proof of legal presence in the United States as of January 1, 2016. Proof of legal presence is no longer required for A applicants for a license renewal applicants, and A applicants for payment from the Real Estate Recovery Fund. This means that, except as specified, any entity within the department may not deny licensure to an applicant based on citizenship status or immigration status. The applicant must have successfully completed 8 3-semester unit, or equivalent, college-level courses taken at an accredited institution of higher learning or a private vocational school approved by the Commissioner. The courses include the following: A real estate practice, A legal aspects of real estate, A real estate finance, A real estate appraisal, A real estate economics, or general accounting. The applicant also must have taken any 3 of the following: A real estate principles, A business law, real estate salesperson's license. An applicant for a real estate salesperson's license must be at least 18 years old at the time the license is issued. The applicant must pass a qualifying exam and meet educational requirements. Before taking the licensing examination, the applicant must successfully complete 3 college-level courses in real estate principles, real estate practice, and one of the following courses: A real estate appraisal, A property management, A real estate finance, A real estate economics, A legal aspects of real estate, A real estate office administration, A mortgage loan brokering and lending, A general accounting, A business law, A escrows, A computer applications in real estate, A common interest developments. License examinations. The licensing examinations consist of multiple choice questions that are similar in format to the achievement examinations in this book, but much more complex, including lengthy fact situations, with the same concept covered from different California_E_principles_10E_book.indb 19 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 15 seconds p.m. 20 California Real Estate Principles 10th edition. Perspectives in different questions. The topics covered on the examinations are distributed as shown in Figure 1.2. The salesperson's exam contains 150 questions, and at least 70%, 105 questions, must be answered correctly to pass. Salesperson applicants have 131 hours assigned to complete the exam. The broker's exam contains 200 questions, and at least 75%, 150, must be answered correctly to pass. Broker applicants have a 21 2-hour morning and 21 2-hour afternoon session to complete the exam. The written license examination is intended to show whether the applicant has sufficient knowledge of the required topics. It also indicates whether the applicant has the ability to read and comprehend the English language. In addition, the applicant may be required to perform arithmetic computations common to real estate. Interactive Voice Response System. CalBRE has an interactive voice response (IVR) system, available 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. Call 1-877-373-4321 toll-free to confirm a licensing examination date, time, and location. A confirm examination results. A verify that an original salesperson or broker license number has been issued, and A learn how to file a complaint against a licensee. These verifications are also available at www.bud.car.gov. License term and renewal. The full term for a broker's or salesperson's license is 4 years. To renew the license for an additional 4 years, the licensee must successfully complete 45 hours of continuing education. All courses must be approved by CalBRE. For all license renewals, the renewal applicant must complete 45 clock hours of education, including at least 18 hours related to consumer protection, in addition to separate 3-hour courses in the following: A. Ethics, Professional Conduct, and Legal Aspects of Real Estate. A. Agency Relationships and Duties in a Real Estate Brokerage Practice. A. Trust Fund Accounting and Handling. A. Fair Housing. A. Risk Management. Brokers renewing for the first time also must take a 3-hour course in the management of real estate offices and supervision of real estate activities, management and supervision. For subsequent renewals, salesperson and broker licensees must complete an 8-hour continuing education survey course that includes topics. The real estate license number. CalBRE requires that the real estate licensee's identification number appear on materials used to solicit consumers, including the following: A. Business cards. A. Stationery. A. Websites owned, controlled, and/or maintained by the soliciting real estate licensee. A. Promotional and advertising flyers, brochures, email and regular mail, leaflets, and other marketing or promotional materials designed to solicit the creation of a professional relationship between the licensee and a consumer, or intended to induce a consumer to contact the licensee about any licensed services. The following are not considered solicitation materials under the license number requirement: A. Advertisements in electronic media, including radio, cinema, and television ads, and the opening section of streaming video and audio. A. Print advertising in any newspaper or periodical. A. For sale signs placed on or around a property intended to alert the public the property is available for purchase or lease. The license number must be in a type size no smaller than the smallest type size used in the solicitation material. If the name of more than one licensee appears in the solicitation, each person's license number must be disclosed. The license number of employing brokers or corporate brokers whose names, logos, or trademarks appear on solicitation materials, along with the names and license numbers of licensed employees or broker associates, need not appear on those materials. In addition to the CalBRE license number, A mortgage loan originator must include in an advertisement for a loan that is disseminated primarily in California the unique identifier assigned to that licensee by the nationwide mortgage licensing system and registry under which the loan would be made or arranged. The CalBRE licensing information telephone number is not required on advertisements for loan activities, but it is required on the lender, purchaser disclosure statement and the mortgage loan disclosure statement, which are discussed in Unit 8, Financing Real Estate. Enforcement of the real estate law. The Real Estate Commissioner investigates complaints regarding the activities of real estate licensees. A complaint may come from a member of the public or from a private group, such as a local association of Realtors registered. The Commissioner is allowed to initiate an investigation and must do so if a verified complaint is made in writing by someone who believes he was wronged by a licensee acting in that capacity. California _E_Principles_10E_Book.INDB 22 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 18 seconds p.m. Unit 1 The Business of Real Estate 23. The CalBRE investigation may include a statement by the licensee and examination of the licensee's records, bank records, title company records, and public records. An informal conference including the parties may be held to determine the necessity for a formal hearing. If a formal hearing is held, it will be presided over by an administrative law judge. At that point, the Commissioner becomes the complainant, and the licensee is the respondent. The licensee may appear with or without an attorney. The person who initiated the complaint is a witness. Other evidence also may be presented. Testimony is taken under oath. The most common violations of the real estate law involve trust fund record keeping and shortages, failure to supervise, unlicensed activity, misrepresentations, disclosure issues, and criminal convictions. Outcome of the hearing: charges not proven by the evidence are dismissed. If the charges are proven, the licensee is subject to license suspension or revocation, depending on the seriousness of the charges. If the license is revoked, an application for reinstatement cannot be made for 1 year. When a violation involves an unlicensed individual, a desist and refrain order will be issued. Restricted license in certain circumstances, such as a violation of the real estate law. The Real Estate Commissioner may decide to issue a restricted license. The restriction imposed could limit the length of the license term. May require, for a salesperson, employment by a particular real estate broker or contain some other condition, such as the filing of surety bonds for the protection of persons with whom the licensee does business. The holder of a restricted license cannot renew the license unless and until the restriction is lifted. The Commissioner has the right to suspend a restricted license without a hearing, pending a final determination after a formal hearing. Other penalties: the Real Estate Commissioner also has the discretion to order one or more of the following penalties for violation of the real estate law. A. Education requiring the offender to successfully complete one or more courses, such as a course in ethics. A. Payment of a fine. A. Return of documents or other materials. A. Reimbursement to the real estate recovery account of any amounts paid to victims of the violation on the offender's behalf, as explained later in this unit. Types of violations: the real estate law specifies many activities that can result in a suspension or revocation of a real estate license. Most of the prohibited activities listed below, Principles 10th edition, which are found in Business and Professions Code section 10176, are discussed in Units 6 and 7. A. Misrepresentation. This is a statement or act of deception on a matter of significance to the transaction, such as the condition of the property. Failure to disclose a property defect is probably the most common form of misrepresentation. A. False promise. This includes making any false promises of a character to influence, persuade, or induce. An offer of a rebate or gift to a prospective client is acceptable, as long as the terms of the offer are expressed and fulfilled. A. Continued misrepresentation. This is a continued and flagrant course of misrepresentation or making of false promises through real estate agents or Salespersons, a undisclosed dual agency. This is acting for more than one party in a transaction without the knowledge and consent of all parties. A commingling. This includes placing the licensee's own money in the same account with the money of others. The licensee can place up to $200 in an account to cover account fees. A not specifying listing termination date. Any exclusive listing or other agreement authorized by the real estate law must specify a definite ending date. A making a secret profit. No compensation of any form may be received by the licensee without the knowledge of the licensee's client. This can happen when the licensee purchases property through a dummy buyer, then resells it at a higher price. A combining listing with option without informed consent of seller. No option to purchase combined with a listing agreement is allowed unless the licensee's profit is stated when the option is exercised and agreed to by the seller in writing. A dishonest dealing. This is any other conduct that constitutes fraud or dishonest dealing. A obtaining signature of prospective purchaser of a business opportunity without owner's authority. No agreement to represent someone or receive compensation for the purchase, lease, rent, or exchange of a business opportunity can be obtained without prior authorization of the business owner. A willfully or repeatedly violating any provision of the Civil Code regarding real property transfer disclosures. A real estate license may be suspended or revoked, or issuance of a license may be denied if the licensee or applicant, or person owning or controlling more than 10% of a corporate applicant's stock, has engaged in any of the following activities, which appear in Business and Professions Code Section 10177, A. Obtaining license by fraud. This includes obtaining a real estate license or license renewal by fraud, misrepresentation, or deceit, or making any material misstatement of fact in an application for a real estate license, license renewal, or reinstatement. California _principles_10e_book.indb 24 May 2017 2:25 and 18 seconds p.m. Unit 1 The Business of Real Estate 25. A. Criminal activities resulting in conviction. This includes suffering a conviction of a felony or a crime involving moral turpitude that is related to their qualifications or duties of a real estate licensee. A. False advertising. This is knowingly authorizing, directing, conniving at, or aiding in the publication, advertisement, distribution, or circulation of any material false statement or representation concerning any business, business opportunity, or land or subdivision offered for sale. When advertising a property, a licensee must disclose that the property is offered through a licensed real estate agent. Failure to disclose this fact and provide the name of the licensee is called blind advertising and is illegal. A. Violations of other sections. This includes disregarding or violating any of the provisions of the real estate law or the rules and regulations of the Commission regarding administration and enforcement of the real estate law. A. Misuse of trade name. This includes using the term realtor or any trade name or insignia of membership, such as the term realtist, in any real estate organization of which the licensee is not a member. A. Conduct warranting denial. This is acting in a manner that would have resulted in denial of a real estate license, such as conviction for a felony or a crime involving moral turpitude. A. Negligence or incompetence. This is demonstrating such carelessness or incompetence as a licensee that the interests of clients or customers are endangered. A. Negligent supervision of salespersons. This is failing, as a broker licensee or broker officer of a corporation, to exercise reasonable supervision over the licensed activities of salespersons or the corporation. A. Violating government trust. This includes using one's employment by a governmental agency to violate the confidential nature of government records. A. Other dishonest conduct. This includes engaging in any other conduct constituting fraud or dishonest dealing. A. Restricted license violation. This includes violating any of the terms of a restricted license. A. Inducement of panic selling. This includes soliciting or inducing the sale, lease, or listing for sale or lease of residential property on the grounds, wholly or in part, of loss of value or of increase in crime or decline of the quality of the schools, due to the present or prospective entry into their neighborhood of a person or persons of another race, color, religion, ancestry, or national origin. Manufactured, mobile homes. Real estate licensees handling manufactured homes, mobile homes, are subject to the general requirements and prohibitions applicable to all real estate. Trans-California _E_principles _10E_book. Ind. 23 May 2017 2:25:18 p.m. 26 California Real Estate Principles 10th edition. Actions. In addition, the real estate law imposes the following restrictions on mobile home sales. A mobile home may not be advertised or offered for sale unless it is in place in a mobile home park or located in a location where it can legally remain for at least 1 year. An advertisement of a mobile home for sale must be withdrawn within 48 hours after receipt of notice that the mobile home is no longer available for sale, lease, or exchange. A license or transfer of title fees may not be prorated unless buyer and seller agree or the licensee was required to pay the fees to avoid penalties that would have been imposed for late payment. Only a mobile home that meets vehicle code requirements can be represented as transportable on a California highway. All material facts pertaining to equipment requirements must be revealed. A permit from their Department of Transportation or local agency must be obtained to authorize the moving of a mobile home. It may not be advertised or represented that no down payment is required if in fact the buyer will be advised to secure an additional loan for that purpose. The licensee is responsible for making sure that the certificate of ownership or certificate of title of the mobile home is endorsed, dated, and delivered to the purchaser. No later than 10 days after the sale of a mobile home, a real estate broker must give written notice of the transfer to the headquarters office of the Department of Housing and Community Development. The following are grounds for revocation or suspension of a real estate license: using a false or fictitious name, knowingly making a false statement, knowingly concealing a material fact, or otherwise committing a fraud in any application for registration of a mobile home. Failing to provide for delivery of a properly endorsed certificate of title or ownership from seller to buyer. Knowingly participating in the purchase or sale of a stolen mobile home. Violating any requirement of the Health and Safety Code, Revenue and Taxation Code, or Civil Code regarding mobile home registration, transfer, or taxation. Submitting a check, draft, or money order to the Department of Housing and Community Development for any fee or other payment due the state for which payment is refused. Licensee conduct. Every licensee should have a copy of the reference book or a real estate guide published by CalBRE and available at www.dre.car.gov/publications/referencebook HTML. The latest edition, 2010. Lists examples of unlawful conduct by real estate licensees. These are shown in Figure 1.3. www.dre.car.gov/publications/referencebook.html. California _E_principles _10E_book. Ind. 23 May 2017 2:25:18 p.m. Unit 1. The Business of Real Estate. 27 In previous editions of the reference book, the Real Estate Commissioner has issued suggestions for professional conduct, desirable actions for those engaged in licensed activities. They appear in Figure 1.4. While these are now considered beyond the scope of the Commissioner's authority, they are worth reading as good advice for real estate practitioners. It is also worth noting the reference to the Code of Ethics of the National Association of Realtors, registered, which has more than 1 million members. Trade groups often set the standard of practice for those in the profession. Membership requirements and ethical concerns can be the most direct evidence of the manner in which all professionals should carry out their responsibilities. Unfortunately, there is not enough space in this book to reproduce the directives of all of the trade groups active in California. We encourage you to obtain the most recent versions of that information from the associations listed later in this unit. Figure 1.3, Unlawful Conduct. Examples of unlawful conduct in sale, lease, or exchange transactions. 1. Knowingly making a substantial misrepresentation of the likely value of real property. 2. its owner either for the purpose of securing a listing or for the purpose of acquiring an interest in the property for the licensee's own account. A prospective buyer for the purpose of inducing the buyer to make an offer to purchase the real property. 2. Representing to an owner of real property when seeking a listing that the licensee has obtained a bona fide written offer to purchase the property, unless at the time of the representation the licensee has possession of a bona fide written offer to purchase. 3. Stating or implying to an owner of real property during listing negotiations that the licensee is precluded by law, by regulation, or by the rules of any organization, other than the broker firm seeking the listing, from charging less than the commission or fee quoted to the owner by the licensee. 4. Knowingly making substantial misrepresentations regarding the licensee's relationship with an individual broker, corporate broker, or franchised brokerage company, or that entity /s/person's responsibility for the licensee's activities. 5. Knowingly underestimating the probable closing costs in a communication to the prospective buyer or seller of real property in order to induce that person to make or to accept an offer to purchase the property. 6. Knowingly making a false or misleading representation to the seller of real property as to the form, amount, and/or treatment of a deposit toward the purchase of the property made by an offeror. 7. Knowingly making a false or misleading representation to a seller of real property, who has agreed to finance all or part of a purchase price by carrying back a loan, about the buyer's ability to repay the loan in accordance with its terms and conditions. 8. Making an addition to or modification of the terms of an instrument previously signed or initialed by a party to a transaction without the knowledge and consent of the party. 9. A representation made as a principal or agent to a prospective purchaser of a promissory note secured by real property about the market value of the securing property without a reasonable basis for believing the truth and accuracy of the representation. 10. Knowingly making a false or misleading representation or representing, without a reasonable basis for believing its truth, the nature and/or condition of the interior or exterior features of a property when soliciting an offer. 11. Knowingly making a false or misleading representation or representing, without a reasonable basis for believing its truth, the size of a parcel, square footage of improvements, or the location of the boundary lines of real property being offered for sale, lease, or exchange. 12. Knowingly making a false or misleading representation or representing to a prospective buyer or lessee of real property, without a reasonable basis to believe its truth, that the property can be used for certain purposes with the intent of inducing the prospective buyer or lessee to acquire an interest in the real property. California _E_Principles_10E_Book.INDB 27 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 18 seconds p.m. 28 California Real Estate Principles 10th edition Figure 1.3, Unlawful Conduct, Continued. 13. When acting in the capacity of an agent in a transaction for the sale, lease, or exchange of real property, failing to disclose to a prospective purchaser or lessee facts known to the licensee materially affecting the value or desirability of the property, when the licensee has reason to believe that such facts are not known to or readily observable by a prospective purchaser or lessee. 14. Willfully failing, when acting as a listing agent, to present or cause to be presented to the owner of the property any written offer to purchase received prior to the closing of a sale, unless expressly instructed by the owner not to present such an offer, or unless the offer is patently frivolous. 15. When acting as the listing agent, presenting competing written offers to purchase real property to the owner in such a manner as to induce the owner to accept the offer that will provide the greatest compensation to the listing broker without regard to the benefits, advantages and/or disadvantages to the owner. 16. Failing to explain to the parties or prospective parties to a real estate transaction for whom the licensee is acting as an agent the meaning and probable significance of a contingency in an offer or contract that the licensee knows or reasonably believes may affect the closing date of the transaction, or the timing of the vacating of the property by the seller or its occupancy by the buyer. 17. Failing to disclose to the seller of real property in a transaction in which the licensee is an agent for the seller the nature and extent of any direct or indirect interest that the licensee expects to acquire as a result of the sale. The licensee should disclose to the seller prospective purchase of the property by a person related to the licensee by blood or marriage, purchase by an entity in which the licensee has an ownership interest, or purchase by any other person with whom the licensee occupies a special relationship where there is a reasonable probability that the licensee could be indirectly acquiring an interest in the property. 18. Failing to disclose to the buyer of real property in a transaction in which the licensee is an agent for the buyer the nature and extent of a licensee's direct or indirect ownership interest in such real property, for example, the direct or indirect ownership interest in the property by a person related to the licensee by blood or marriage, by an entity in which the licensee has an ownership interest, or by any other person with whom the licensee occupies a special relationship. 19. Failing to disclose to a principal for whom the licensee is acting as an agent any significant interest the licensee has in a particular entity when the licensee recommends the use of the services or products of such entity. Exercise 1-2. Broker Bob opened his first real estate brokerage office and immediately hired salesperson Sally. Sally printed and circulated a newsletter throughout the neighborhood. She gave a few mortgage loan statistics in her newsletter and stressed the record high property values in the area. She concluded with the statement, "I've never handled a listing I couldn't sell." In fact, Sally had never handled any listing, as she violated the Code of Ethics. As Broker Bob, other activities of the California Bureau of Real Estate (CalBRE) performs many functions in addition to regulating the business activities of brokers and salespersons. Through the Real Estate Education and Research Fund, research in land use and real estate development is made possible at both public and private universities and research entities throughout the state. The fund is financed by a fixed percentage of license fees. The Recovery Account is another fund financed by license fees. It is available to aid victims of licensee fraud, misrepresentation, deceit, or conversion, theft, of trust fund, who are awarded money damages by a court or as the result of a CalBRE administrative proceeding that are non-collectible. A maximum of $50,000. California _E_ principles _10E_ book.indb 28 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 18 seconds p.m. Unit 1. The business of real estate. 29 per transaction or $250,000 per licensee can be paid from the recovery account. Reimbursement to the fund by the offender will be required as part of the disciplinary process. Figure 1.4. Desirable conduct. Recommended conduct. In sale, lease, or exchange transactions, real estate licensees are encouraged to adhere to the following suggestions in conducting their business activities. 1. Aspire to give a high level of competent, ethical, and quality service to buyers and sellers in real estate transactions. 2. Stay in close communication with clients or customers to ensure that questions are promptly answered and all significant events or problems in a transaction are conveyed in a timely manner. 3. Cooperate with the California Department of Real Estate's enforcement of, and report to that department evident violations of, the real estate law. 4. Use care in the preparation of any advertisement to present an accurate picture or message to the reader, viewer, or listener. 5. Submit all written offers in a prompt and timely manner. 6. Keep oneself informed and current on factors affecting the real estate market in which the licensee operates as an agent. 7. Make a full, open, and sincere effort to cooperate with other licensees, unless the principal has instructed the licensee to the contrary. 8. Attempt to settle disputes with other licensees through mediation or arbitration. 9. Advertise or claim to be an expert in an area of specialization in real estate brokerage activity, for example, appraisal, property management, industrial siting, mortgage loan, etc., only if the licensee has had special training, preparation, or experience in such area. 10. Strive to provide equal opportunity for quality housing and a high level of service to all persons regardless of race, color, sex, religion, ancestry, physical handicap, marital status, or national origin. 11. Base opinions of value, whether for the purpose of advertising or promoting real estate brokerage business, upon documented objective data. 12. Make every attempt to comply with these guidelines for professional conduct and the code of ethics of any organized real estate industry group of which the licensee is a member. Professional associations. One of the best ways for the real estate licensee to become involved in and remain enthusiastic about the profession is to become a member of a professional association. Trade associations provide sources of information, training, and contact with other professionals. Associations also help shape the law and the industry by establishing and enforcing standards of practice and also by providing an effective voice for their members. Realtors are registered. There have been voluntary associations of real estate professionals in California since 1887, when the San Diego Realty Board was formed. As more cities formed such groups, the California Real Estate Association was organized in 1905. On January 1, 1975, the name of that organization was changed to the California Association of Realtors, a registered CAR, demonstrating its affiliation with the national organization. CAR, headquartered in Los Angeles, can be found on the web at www.car.org, www.car.org, www.realtor.com. California _E_principles_10E_book.ind 29 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 18 seconds p.m. 30 California Real Estate Principles 10th edition. The term realtor is a registered trademark of the National Association of Realtors, a registered NAR, and may be used only by Realtor A registered members of NAR. NAR has offices in Chicago, Illinois, and Washington, D.C., and its web address is www.realtor.org. NAR's consumer website that includes property listings is www.realtor.com. With more than 1 million members across the country, NAR is a powerful force in lobbying on behalf of its members. Real estate licensees who fulfill NAR membership requirements may use the Realtor A registered or Realtor Associate A registered trademark. Use of either of these registered trademarks by anyone not authorized to do so may result in a license suspension or revocation, in addition to damages in a legal action brought by NAR. NAR also has an affiliate membership classification open to lenders, escrow companies, and others engaged in real estate-related activities. Realtists. Realtist is the member designation of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, Incorporated, or NAR. NAR's website is www.nar.com. This group was formed in 1947 in Tampa, Florida, of predominantly African American members, and it now has local boards nationwide. In California, local boards include Associated Real Property Brokers, Oakland North Bay Board of Realtists, Richmond, and the Consolidated Realty Board, Los Angeles. Members of NAR must belong to the local group as well as to the national organization, which is headquartered in Washington, D.C. Unauthorized use of the term realtist is unlawful, misrepresentation, and unethical. Local associations. Most local real estate associations are affiliated with CAR and NAR or NAR. Local organizations bring members together to assist in community outreach as well as charitable programs. They frequently offer continuing education and other informational seminars. In addition, the local real estate association typically conducts what may be the real estate broker and salesperson's most valuable marketing tool, the multiple listing service, MLS. All licensees benefit by sharing information on available properties. The number and variety of properties included in the larger MLSs would be impossible for any one company to duplicate. Local and regional property listings now are part of statewide and national databases accessible by both agents and consumers on the Internet. Summary: the business of real estate entails many responsibilities for the licensee. The responsibilities begin with completing qualifying courses and passing a licensing examination. They also include the obligation to make sure that the licensee obeys both the real estate law and the regulations of the Real Estate Commissioner. The foundation of all of the activities and requirements of the California Bureau of Real Estate is the element of fair dealing. We have come far from the days when the concept of caveat emptor served as a shield for the unscrupulous. Now the police power of the government has brought about the real estate law found in the Business and Professions Code. The Real Estate Commissioner and California Bureau of Real Estate are charged with the task of supervising the education, licensing, and conduct of those who call themselves real estate professionals. The real estate brokerage office always has one responsible broker who may have one or more salespersons, or brokers, working out of the office. A broker officer enables a brokerage to be incorporated. A corporate brokerage also must file a certificate of status. A partnership of real estate licensees also is possible. A fictitious name for a brokerage requires the filing of a fictitious business name statement. DBA. Real estate licensees may deal in business opportunities, which may involve many requirements, including those of the Uniform Commercial Code. The real estate law contains many mandates and prohibitions for the licensee. Through the Real Estate Education and Research Fund, the California Bureau of Real Estate makes use of part of the license fees collected to finance real estate research. It also compensates victims of licensee wrongdoing from the recovery account. www.bra.car.gov California_E_principles_10E_book.indb 31 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 18 seconds p.m. 32 California Real Estate Principles 10th edition. By joining a local professional organization, the licensee benefits in many ways, from use of a multiple listing service to attending educational programs and contributing to various charitable events. Review questions. 1. The real estate law is found in A. The Licensing Code. B. The Business and Professions Code. C. The Health and Safety Code. D. The Corporations Code. 2. The Real Estate Commissioner reports to A. The California Bureau of Real Estate. B. The Governor. C. The Department of Housing and Urban Development. D. The Legislature. 3. A salesperson owns 25% of the outstanding shares of Rollo Realty, Incorporated, and the broker owns the remaining shares. This division of ownership is A. Acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 4. A salesperson is part owner of Rollo Realty, Incorporated. In the broker's absence, the salesperson frequently reviews the work of sales associates. This is A. Acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 5. A real estate business that is a partnership can have more than one office location, provided A. A broker partner obtains an additional license for each location. B. All partners are real estate licensees. C. There is a designated broker officer. D. There is at least one partner at each location. 6. The sale or transfer of goods ordinarily held for sale in the course of business is governed in California by A. The Business Opportunity Code. B. The Commercial Transfer Law. C. The Uniform Commercial Code. D. The Real Estate Law. 7. An officer of Ajax Corporation, who is not a real estate licensee, successfully negotiated the purchase of the Smith Widget plant on behalf of Ajax. The officer received a commission on the sale in addition to his normal salary. The officer of Ajax Corporation A. did not need a real estate license for the deal. B. should have had a real estate license. C. is exempt from licensing requirements. D. none of these 8. If a real estate license is not renewed before it expires, the licensee A. is allowed to complete transactions in progress. B. is allowed to finish transactions that are substantially complete. C. must cease all real estate activities. D. may act under authority of another agent's license for a period not to exceed 60 days. 9. A real estate licensee can offer a mobile home for sale that is a. in a manufacturing plant, ready for delivery. B. Transportable under an exemption from the vehicle code. C. Pre-sold. D. In a location where it can legally remain for 1 year. 10. A couple desperately wants to move to Pine Bend, and they like the seller's house, which is listed with a broker. The couple tells the broker they will make it worth his while if he can persuade the sellers to accept their offer, and they send an expensive food basket to the broker as a sign of their good faith. The broker neglects to mention this to the sellers. This practice is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. California _principles_10e_book.indb 33 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 19 seconds p.m. 34 California Real Estate Principles 10th edition 11. A broker routinely places earnest money deposits in his personal account for overnight safekeeping. This practice is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 12. A broker has an exclusive listing agreement with a property owner. The listing will terminate when the parties agree. This practice is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 13. When a broker exercised his option to buy Whitaker, he presented to the owner of Whitaker a written statement of his expected profit in the transaction. The seller agreed in writing to proceed with the sale. This conduct is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 14. The broker officer of Excise Realty, Incorporated, does not like the overly aggressive sales tactics of Excise's salespeople but has not reprimanded them because business is so good. The broker's conduct is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 15. A broker wants to help out his neighbor's son, who recently acquired a BA in history from Back East University. The broker hires the graduate to show property to prospective buyers. Because the new employee has no real estate license, the broker handles all of the negotiating. This practice is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 16. A salesperson is selling the Greenacre estate. An offer has been accepted, and the closing will take place in 2 weeks. While their owners are out of town, the buyer asks if the closing can be put off for 1 day. The salesperson agrees on behalf of the owners, for she is sure they will not object. The salesperson's conduct is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 17. A house is for sale following a murder in the house 6 months earlier. A salesperson, showing an out-of-town prospect through the house, decides to keep information about the murder to himself. The salesperson's conduct is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 18. A broker is so busy that he never has the time to return the phone calls of his principals. He prefers to spend his time in the field making sales and acquiring new listings. This practice is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. California _principles_10e_book.indb 34 the 23rd of May 2017 2:25 and 19 seconds p.m. Unit 1 The Business of Real Estate 35. 19. After attending a get-rich-quick real estate seminar, an attendee wants to buy a house cheap. She tells a broker that she will offer $50,000, with seller financing and no down payment, on the Monroe Street house, which has an asking price of $125,000. The broker presents the offer with one of his own for $85,000, telling the owners that unexpected market conditions make their asking price unrealistic. His conduct is a. acceptable. B. Mandated. C. Discouraged. D. Prohibited. 20. A new broker opens a brokerage office and immediately places an ad in the local newspaper, "List your house with me and I will pay you $500 at closing. This practice is A. acceptable, B. mandated, C. discouraged, D. prohibited.
Perfect.